for episode 80. Before Duelist Kingdom, Mai was making a name for herself as a card shark working at a cruise ship casino. And this is where she met American movie star Jean-Claude Magnum. Known in-universe for making ninja movies, this walking reference to IRL actor Jean-Claude Van Damme was immediately smitten with Mai after she and him had duel monsters, using her trademark Harpy Lady / Rosewood
Welcome back.
He then proposed, but Mai turned him down because he sucked at Yu-Gi-Oh! And she's totally right. Magnum lost to a Harpy Lady / Rosewood. Anyway, after Mai told him to get good or get lost, Jean-Claude Magnum disappeared for a while until returning for the final pre-finals duels of Battle City. He challenges Mai, who can't even remember who he is, and somehow the agreed upon stakes of the duel are that if Magnum wins, he'll take Mai's spot in the finals and marry her. Luckily, he super loses. Mai points out that though his great kind of ninja equip spell might prevent her from targeting Magnum's Shogun for attack, it specifically doesn't stop her from just attacking Jean-Claude directly. She crushes him with Harpy Lady Sisters, and that would have been the end of it. But in a strange and unhinged twist, Magnum's Ninja Master Shogun is revealed to be a real stuntman rather than a hologram. Perhaps jealous of her comparatively subtle name, the famous American movie star Jean-Claude Magnum attempts to use movie magic to kidnap Mai, almost gets her killed, and then is foiled by Joey Wheeler. It's always nice seeing a seasoned competitor like Mai take a win. It's less nice when that win is an off-putting encounter with a celebrity creep. Taking her experiences with Jean-Claude, other sadistic men like Panic and Yami American to account, one can sympathize with the rage she must feel, even if that same insecurity would leave her vulnerable to the machinations of another twisted man, Darts. Still, the saving grace of her duel with Jean-Claude Magnum is that most people probably forget it, especially since the match comes sandwiched between two way more interesting duels in Yami Bakura vs. Bones and Yami Bakura vs. Yami Yugi. The number 8 duel for this list didn't even get its own episode. Even Jean-Claude Magnum got an episode name themed around him with Lights,
Come back
Camera,
here
Duel,
whenever you're
all in
tired.
English. Japanese, it's Ninja Master Magnum enters. But the duel between Kaiba Corp Grand Prix major antagonist Xavier von Schroeder and career minor antagonist Weevil Underwood and Rex Raptor is overshadowed by another match between Rebecca Hawkins and Vivia Wong, which, for episode 189, takes its name, Child.
Okay, I kind of want to
But
maximize
why
that
is this
XP
duel
gain
still
thing.
boring? Well, the blame largely falls on Weevil and Rex. When was the last time either of these guys won a duel? Actually, let's answer that question. Weevil Underwood beat Rex Raptor during a televised match in episode 2 and would go on to lose every duel on-screen since, while Rex never got a single on-screen win to his name. Let's recap. Weevil Underwood won against Rex, and then lost against Yami Yugi. In Battle City, he lost again against Joey. And at the start of the Wing of the Dragons, he lost off-screen to Gurimo. And later that season, he lost again to Yami Yugi, and then even later to Siegfried. He even loses to Selena from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 during her Duel Links Unlock event. Rex, on the other hand, lost to Mai in the boat to Duelist Kingdom, and then to Joey Wheeler on the island. Esparoba instantly knocked him out of Battle City, after which he would also lose to Gurimo, off-screen, followed by a second loss to Joey. And then he and Weevil challenged Siegfried. Now, a little context for this duel. Neither Rex nor Weevil were invited to participate in the Kaiba Corp Grand Prix. Instead, they kidnapped and restrained the duelist Fortune Salim, stealing his full-body cloak to sneak into the tournament, using the two kids in a trench coat method. Shockingly, this works enough for them to arrive at Salim's scheduled duel against Siegfried. Mokuba tries to disqualify Rex and Weevil for breaking a large number of rules in US law. The Kaiba Corp GP is held in Florida, but Siegfried correctly assesses that he can duel circles around these two clowns, and okays a tag duel against them. Rex and Weevil put up a decent first turn, both summoning powerful monsters. Eradicating Aerosol on Pitch Hopper lets Weevil field Insect Queen, and Balloon Lizard plus Ultra Evolution Pill equals a Black Tyranno for Rex. Unimpressed, Siegfried activates Ride of the Valkyries, to summon 2 copies of Valkyrie's Vida and 2 copies of Valkyrie Ursta. After using both his Wide's effects to destroy Insect Queen and Black Tyranno, he uses both Urstas to banish Rex and Weevil's aces from the grave to power up his attack. Then he executes both opponents at the same time, with the same cards in perfect symmetry. But as far as resuming building for a villain goes, Weevil and Rex are well-trodden territory. After watching the likes of Esparoba and Gurimo dispose of them, seeing Siegfried do the same isn't especially interesting. During the aimless days between Duelist Kingdom and Battle City is where we encounter this list number 7, Yugimoto vs. Rebecca Hawkins. Episode 41 starts on a high note. Yugi receives a $3 million check and the Duelist Kingdom Champion prize card, The Ties of Friendship. Then Seto Kaiba swoops in with the Kaiba Copter to take everyone home. This is where Yugi finds himself confronted by an angry American 12, or in the sub, an 8-year-old Rebecca Hawkins. She accuses Solomon Muto of stealing her Blue Eyes White Dragon and challenges him to a duel. Since Grandpa is still feeling a little shaky after just getting his soul back, it's Yugi who answers Rebecca's challenge, finding that she is actually pretty good. Finding that she's actually pretty good at Yu-Gi-Oh! Her strategy revolves around dissuading attacks with her Millennium Shield / Ring of Magnetism combo, leaving her free to use her Cannon Soldier to tribute off monsters like Witch of the Black Forest, Sangan that keep her from running out of cards. After Yugi uses Brain Control and Catapult Turtle to remove her Millennium Shield by offering it as a tribute, Rebecca pivots into her ace monster, Shadow Ghoul. Gaining attack from all the cards she Cannon Soldiered or discarded to the grave, Shadow Ghoul is even stronger than Yugi's Dark Magician, and the newly minted King of Games is reduced to hiding behind swords revealed in light while he tries to draw the out. And because he's Yugi, he does, drawing Soul Release. Still, he decides to surrender the match. Thrilled at her victory, Rebecca's mood is ruined when she sees that Grandpa's blue eyes got torn up and taped back together, and it's at this time that her grandfather, Arthur Hawkins, arrives on the scene. The entire duel between Yugi and Rebecca was a reflection of a past duel between their grandfathers, who were at the time living in an archaeological cave-in with very little water. Arthur explains that Yugi really won because he forfeited to teach Rebecca about the heart of the cards and the power of friendship, a point that Yugi drives home by giving Rebecca the ties of friendship, his duelist keep of prize card. Honestly, this duel is pretty good while it's happening. Shadow Ghoul has a cool design, and Rebecca has a cohesive strategy. Unfortunately, the conclusion is very disappointing, and that lands this match a spot on this list. After their ordeal with the Orichalcos, and before the start of the Kaiba Corp Grand Prix, the game takes a short holiday in Kaiba Land, USA. One of the main attraction features is a dueling artificial intelligence known as KC Dual Tech 760, and a bunch of kids are having fun throwing down cards against it. Then someone hacks into KC's system, the Blue Eyes Dome goes on lockdown, and the KC Dual Tech 760 goes haywire. And it's up to Yugi to beat it in this list's number 6 duel.
Where the
On
hell?
his win over darts, Yugi has his god cards here, making him pretty dangerous, and well equipped to handle a rogue machine. But Yugi's not dueling with his own card. He's using Rick's. This is bad because Rick's cards are bad. Earlier in episode 185, before the KC system lost it, Rick, a local child, asked Yugi and Rebecca to take a look at his deck list and provide some pointers. His problems were easy to diagnose. Rick is running almost exclusively normal monster dragons, and Rebecca told him that the balance of his deck was bad. Yugi was more gentle, giving Rick a copy of Heart of the Underdog, a card that synergizes with normal strategies. He's lucky he did too, because Yama Yugi later struggles to use Rick's cards to hold off KC Dual Tech 760. Aside from a brief offensive foray using Luster Dragon equipped with Dragon Treasure, the Pharaoh spends much of his game defending against powerful cards like Jinzo and Slate Warrior. The computer even uses Air Knight Parshaft in combination with the Robin Goblin to discard from Yama Yugi's hand, while inflicting piercing damage for extra draws. But drawing is what lets Yugi turn the game around. After activating Heart of the Underdog, Yyyy is able to pick up Curse of Dragon, Komori Dragon, Winged Dragon, Guardian Fortress, Q Xangru, Crawling Dragon, Blind Fire Dragon, and finally Spirit Ryu in one draw phase. He summons Spirit Ryu and attacks Jinzo, discarding 6 dragon monsters during the damage step to increase the attack of his monster to a game-ending 7,000 points. While this duel is more frustrating than exciting, since Yyyy spends much of the time defending and drawing, it is safe from landing higher in this list because of the fun thematic implications. Not every power over destiny could have saved the Pharaoh from losing with a Rick's deck if little Yugi hadn't taken the time to give a younger duelist some guidance and a gift. Halfway through the Battle City Finals, the show takes a huge break from the plot to go on a long virtual world filler arc. Sure, the virtual world might have cropped up in a bizarre time, but we did get to see some less spotlighted characters show off their dueling skills. One such character is Taya Gardner, who faces former Kaiba corporate accountant for human resources named Rudolph Crump III in one of the series' worst duels. The number 5 spot on this list goes to Taya and a CPA with a penguin obsession. Since Crump doesn't have a body, he chose the Nightmare Penguin to embody his essence in the virtual world. As a result, Nightmare Penguin is his deckmaster, and his watery monsters enjoy a 200-point attack boost for his ability. But compared to other deckmaster abilities, this is laughably bad. Johnson's Judgeman can pay 1,000 life points to send all of his opponent's monsters to the graveyard. Ledger's Jinzo negates traps. Even Taya's Dark Magician Girl lets her activate cards equal to her number of monsters in the grave to add one of the revealed cards to her hand. But Crump's disappointing deckmaster ability is a microcosm of everything wrong with the duel. Both players make really bad decisions, from choosing Nightmare Penguin as a deckmaster and failing to play Graceful Charity and Pot of Greed. That's what Taya does, or really doesn't do. Because she believes she has no other options, she moves Dark Magician Girl to the field, exposing her deckmaster, while Graceful Charity sits unused in her hand. Luckily for her, she's saved by an invocation of Deuce Magician Ag Machina, when her Sage's Stone spell lets her summon Dark Magician from Yugi's deck. Luckily for us, this move lets the duel finally end. And at number 4, we have the duel that took place before the series even began. Revealed in a flashback by Seto Kaiba in episode 16, Maximilian Pegasus versus Bandit Keith. Despite enormous amounts of proof to the contrary, Seto Kaiba is usually pretty resolute that he doesn't believe in any of this ancient magic / heart of the cards hocus pocus. His soul even got trapped in a playing card and he just kind of memory holed that. But there are a few monsters when his defiance is shaken, and one of those occurred during the final match of the Intercontinental Duel Monsters Championship in New York City. Kaiba attended as one of Pegasus' guests of honor to observe the duel between the game creator and American champ Bandit Keith, and what he saw alarmed him. Pegasus refused to take his own game seriously, and beckoned a child who had just learned how to play out of the crowd. Using the powers of his Millennium Eye, Pegasus was able to read Keith's card and mind, and provided the chosen child with detailed instructions on how to best Keith. Pissed off, Bandit Keith summons Garnicia Elephantis, playing right into Pegasus' hand. The child summoned Flying Elephant, which somehow allowed him to win. Kaiba was like, whoa, Pegasus is freaky, I guess. And Bandit Keith began his long journey to Duel's Kingdom to get his vengeance. But let's look at the actual Flying Elephant card and see how the child actually won for Pegasus. Finally released to the TCG in the 2018 set Battle of Legend Relentless Revenge, Flying Elephant is a level 4 wind monster with 1850 attack and 1300 defense, and there are 2 parts to its effect. 1. Once during your opponent's turn, Flying Elephant can resist destruction by card effect. 2. If effect 1 was activated last turn, then for the duration of the next turn, when Flying Elephant inflicts battle damage by direct attack, you win the duel. While the actual Flying Elephant wouldn't have been able to contest and win against Garnicia Elephantis without significant interplay of the cards, it is pretty cool to see that Flying Elephant got a victory condition as a callback to how Pegasus and the kid used it in the anime. I guess it's also somewhat interesting that both Bandit Keith and Pegasus used elephant monsters, confirming the fact that Pegasus was always a huge bull. But as impressed as Kaiba was with this display, it's still not particularly interesting. I think Pegasus is bored by the match. While that's mostly him just BMing Bandit Keith, it's also probably true. The game wasn't exciting and everyone who crowded the stadium to watch the Intercontinental Duel Monsters final probably walked away disappointed. Despite the Duel Monsters anime subjecting us to a near constant Seto Kaiba duels and extended internal monologues, we don't get to see his little brother Bokuba put his cards on the table too often, which is unfortunate because in Duel Links he voices lines for Hunter Burger. But instead of dueling Chef Mokuba, we got the incredibly disappointing duel between him and Yugi from way back in episode 8, and that's also the duel we get for the number 3 spot on this list. Kidnapped for the first time in what would soon become a siege trend, Mokuba Kaiba was held prisoner for an extended period in Castle Pegasus. In a remarkable feat of ingenuity and physicality, Mokuba fashioned a sleeping robe of bedsheets and intended to rappel down the castle ramparts. And he didn't even die when he fell for multiple stories into the forest below. From there, he starts stealing cards and star chips. After chatting with one of his victims, he accepts a fetch quest to apprehend the thief. And that's how he winds up dueling against Fast Mokuba. Summons exactly 2 monsters, Manny and Plant, and Crocodilus, before realizing he can't beat Yugi's winged dragon, guardian of the fortress. At this point, Mokuba abandons the duel and rushes Yugi in an attempt to steal some star chips. It's not an exciting duel and it ends almost as quickly as it began, but even though this duel is quite boring, it does have a few points in its favor. While not the kindest thing Mokuba's ever done, his motives for thievery check out. The condition of Pegasus' deal with the Big Five was that Yugi has to lose the Duelist Kingdom to restore public trust in Kaiba Corp, and if his star chips are stolen, or happens to lose to someone who's not officially part of the tournament, he'll be removed from Duelist Kingdom without technically losing, rendering the Industrial Illusions coup of Kaiba Corp void. But none of that stops this duel from sucking, so yeah, let's move on. And at number 2, we dive back into the virtual world, but not the domain of Noah Kaiba. We're going back to episode 44 and the first virtual world filler arc, where Yugi, Joey, Kaiba, and Mai took up the mantle of legendary heroes to save Kaiba's video game prototype from the clutches of the Big Five. But we're not talking about the climactic clash between the Five-Headed Dragon and the collected dragons of heroes. No, the number 2 spot goes to Joey Wheeler and Mai Valentine's duel the virtual world Desert Coliseum. In need of more aimless plot points to explore before the beginning of Battle City, the anime diverted into a filler arc. Facing his turncoat employees, Kaiba threatens to fire the Big Five like he does in the manga. But instead of that happening, the Five are like, "Hey Mr. Kaiba, you finished your cool video game thing, check it out." Despite being an obvious trap, this ploy somehow works and Kaiba immediately enters a VR pod to get held hostage within the world of his own design. Yugi, Joey, and Mokuba link into the brains to save him. But what about Mai Valentine? Isn't she supposed to be here? Well, she already is. The gang, minus Mai, need to traverse the dangerous desert to save Kaiba, and the only way to do that is with the Niwatori card conveniently offered as a reward to winners of the Desert Coliseum. Joey dresses like a pig, which is kinda funny, and makes his way to the arena, where he meets current Coliseum champion, Madame Butterfly. In fact, Mai Valentine. Because they're both in costume, neither duelist recognizes the other, but soon understand the identity of their opponent from the way they play. Who else uses cards like Flame Swordsman and Harpy Blade? Joey and Mai match up for a minute. Apparently, Mai was hired by the Big Five to playtest the virtual world, and then they decided they didn't even need to resolve the duel. Instead, Mai uses her Rosewhip card to steal Niwatori, and the gang flees into the desert. People often forget this duel between Joey and Mai even happened, especially since their bouts in Duelist Kingdom and later during Wake of the Dragons are some of the series' more interesting duels. By comparison, this round of Joey vs. Mai brings very little to the table worth remembering. Important Yu-Gi-Oh! Character Johnny Steps would tell you that he's always number 1. And if we're talking about the worst duels of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel monsters, he's totally right. At episode 53, Yami, Yugi, and Taya Gardner go on a little date set up by Little Yugi, who just wants his closest buddy to have a good time. The whole ordeal is a surprise to the Pharaoh, who wasn't expected to be pulled out of this puzzle by Little Yugi. Despite the kind of awkward start, the date seems to go okay. The two get coffee, and Yami Yugi buys some packs, and this is where he pulls a light sword. But most importantly, they go dancing. Well, they go to an arcade and Taya plays Dance Dance Revolution, but yeah, there's dancing. Local territorial dancer Johnny Steps challenges the crowd to beat him at video game dancing, and Taya's like, "Yeah dude, let's go." Even though a sweating Johnny Steps breaks out his ace move of literally attacking Taya with multiple kicks in the proper groove, Taya trounces him. You know that Taya is undefeated at Duel Monsters and dancing? Humiliated by his defeat, Johnny Steps challenges Taya to a card game. But then Yami Yugi steps in, suggesting Johnny leave Taya alone and beat him instead. Johnny Steps is down and agrees to the condition that if Yugi wins, he'll stop bothering Taya. But if he wins, he and Taya get to go on a date. Kinda seems like Steps and Jean-Claude Van Damme hang out, but Johnny hasn't been testing his deck as rigorously as the Hollywood Big Shot. His big play is to use Polymerization, use Witch of the Black Forest with Lady of Faith into Musician King, and level 5 non-effect spellcaster with 1750 attack and 1500 defense. After seeing Johnny Steps,
that's my favorite fusion, baby.
opposed to
It just makes so much fucking sense. Oh my god, it came from this fucking jobber.
Instead of taking the challenge seriously. For his next move, Steps breaks out a copy of Metalmorph to retrofit Musician King into Heavy Metal King, a card that doesn't exist in the TCG yet. We have Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon and Metal Zilla X. Where's Heavy Metal King? Well, the answer is fading out of existence quickly, as the moment Johnny Steps learns that he's playing against Duelist Kingdom champion Yukimoto, he immediately forfeits the game and leaves. This duel is disappointing from start to finish, and its only saving grace is that it never pretended to be anything else. He knew from the start
A giant enemy crab.
and that's exactly what was delivered. Alright, and that's the list. If you have any more duels from the Duel Monsters anime you dislike, or have ideas for future videos just like this one,
I can imagine it. Veil's just like, oh. And Mary's like, oh, you son of a fucking bitch.
Pag malakas ang bato.
Cool. It appears I don't know what to do next. Okay, let's try this again. Oh. This is what they wanted. Jesus Christ, what the fuck?
Our blend, John.
Evil Hero Dark Guy is a level 8 Earth Fiend that requires a Fiend type or a Rock type monster to defeat. He has a question mark attack and 0 defense. Cannot be special summoned except with Dark Fusion or Super Compensation. Original attack of Dark Gaia is the combined type monster to be summoned. Dark Gaia attacks to no defensive position monsters with effects are not activated. Curiously enough, it's the only 2 material monster that has ever existed. That doesn't require specific monster. That to make the card good, as well as the type is extreme.
They threw in every single navigational gimmick they have in this fucking stratum.
Card is another decent LT expression. By number higher attack. Seriously though, the somewhat dynamic is other evil that require feet and a monster or type. Level 6 fire is the requires a map, attack, and don't expect except dark. Once per turn, this card is Room Sniper also destroyed by the enemies. Sniper is also very slow. Get rid of uprising 4 very manageable turrets. No lose the a 2.5k volume on protection from spell destruction certainly takes an effort to get rid of, and could probably single-handedly by themselves. Evil Hero Lightning Golem is a level 6 light fusion monster with 2400 attack and 1500 defense. This is fusion between Sparkman and Clayman with the following effect. This card cannot be special summoned except Dark Fusion. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster in the field and destroy it. Following the theme of evil heroes being more powerful than their counterpart, Lightning Golem moves past Thunder Dragon's biggest weakness, which means that Lightning Golem is a pretty powerful piece of removal. Monster removal is extremely broken in the anime, and not just that, but turn repeating, cost free, no restriction monster removal. It's game breaking, and again, by himself, probably winning the game. Evil Hero Wild Cyclone is level 8 Earth monster with 1900 attack and 2300 defense, and is a fusion with Avion and Wildheart. Following effect. This card cannot be special summoned except with Dark Fusion. This card attacks, your opponent cannot activate any spells or traps until the end of the damage cycle. When this card inflicts spell damage to your opponent, destroy all face-up spells and traps your opponent controls. This one is a toss-up between original being better or Wild Cyclone. It does prevent battle traps, which is a plus, but the attack of Wild Cyclone is too small for the battle trap prevention to really matter. Destroying all face-up spells and traps is definitely great, but too niche to rely on. Ending the Evil Hero lineup extremely strong. You have Evil Hero Malicious Fiend, which is a level 8 Fire Fiend fusion monster with 3500 attack and 2100 defense. It requires Evil Hero Malicious Edge and 1 level 6 or higher Fiend type monster with the following effect. This card cannot be special summoned except Dark Fusion or Super Polymerization. During your opponent's battle phase, all monsters they control are changed to face-up attack position. Each monster they control must attack this card if able. You might read this card and go, wow, forcing your opponent to hit themselves to death sounds broken. Then you'll remember that you don't have to enter your battle phase and that you can just simply skip it, which makes this card effectively a normal monster. The effect only really applies in a rare case where you have a monster that your opponent will want to get rid of, but it's too much of an edge case to be of concern. That being said, even a 3500 vanilla beat stick is definitely nothing to laugh at, and generic materials also means that you can even use a super poly on a opponent's monster for free easy monster removal. So now you might notice, all of the evil hero effects make mention to the special theme, Dark Fusion. Dark Fusion basically functions as normal polymerization, where you can send monsters from your hand field to the grave to the fusion summon any fiend type fusion monster from your action deck. During a turn that the fusion monster is summoned, that monster cannot be targeted by the effects of monsters, spells, and traps. Targeting protection for an entire turn is huge, especially in a fusion deck where you have monsters like Malicious Fiend or Dark Gaia. It's that your Lightning Golem get free pop with very little chance of destruction.
or OTK without being affected by a battle trap like Magic Soldier. Dark Calling is another fusion spell mechanic for any fusion monster that requires Dark Fusion. However, it requires you to banish Dark Fusion, and then you banish the required fusion materials from your hand or grave. Dark Calling can be a great card, similar to how Miracle Fusion is one of the Elemental Hero's best cards. Needing you to already have Dark Fusion in your grave hurts the consistency of this card quite a lot. It still is a worthwhile card in the deck, just on how strong being able to summon monsters from your grave as fusion material is, but doesn't quite hit the same as its element for a counterpart. Moving on to their singular spell support, Vicious Claw is an equip spell where the equipped monster gains strength to attack. The equipped monster will be destroyed by battle, return this card to its owner's hand instead, then destroy one monster, except from the one that battled the equipped monster, and then inflict 600 damage to your opponent. After that, special summon one human which is a dark level 7 monster with 2500 damage to your opponent's side of the field. During the turn Vicious Claws return to your hand, you cannot use Vicious Claw. If you didn't tell already, Vicious Claw is supposed to lead to super polymerization, so you can use it with Malicious Edge to defeat them. But without a super poly or a Malicious Edge, this card just gives your opponent 2.5 KP every time it battles, which doesn't feel like a fair trade based on the power of the equipped card. The design of the card also means that on an opponent's turn, they're free to destroy your monster with 2.5k monsters that you graciously handed over to them. That's about the extent of Jaden's run as the Supreme King and his evil hero deck. But there's one very notable addition that gets added to the deck, which is Super Polymerization, a quick play spell that allows you to send one card from your hand to the and then fusion summon the monster from your extra deck by sending one fusion hero or one monster from either side of the field. The added protection of your opponent's cards being unable to be activated in response to the summon. Don't get me wrong, Super Poly is broken. There's a reason why this card is banned in existence for so long. But there's also another aspect of the card, where the anime hits towards the idea that Super Poly can create an entirely new fusion using any monsters. With in that case, Super Polymerization becomes a very literal game-breaking card. This card also comes with a caveat that it comes at the cost of sacrificing your friends, which doesn't affect the duel itself, but will undoubtedly have an effect on your mental health. On to our final arc of the Yoshi. Jaden for once doesn't suffer a complete mental breakdown and completely overhauls his deck, and sticks with the good old classic Elemental Heroes and Geospatians. By this point in the show, we've seen a majority of hero units, and all of his main deck hero and Geospatian monsters, so there's not as many other cards to talk about, except for two fusion cards, which will lead to that. Unfortunately, as a consequence of Jaden Bell, he adds the aforementioned card to his deck. Bell is a level 10 Dark Fiend that you're attacking to follow the deck. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. Your opponent takes all battle damage from battles involved in its face-up attack position card. During your end phase, tribute one monster to destroy this card. If this card is destroyed, except by its own effect, special summon one Yubel Terror card into the hand, deck, or graveyard. So Yubel's damage effect is obviously busted, as you can also just attack the Yubel to continuously damage. And her not being able to be destroyed by battle also makes it hard to get rid of. This means that, just like Fields, you'll struggle with getting her out of them. Not only that, you'll need two tributes. You'll need a third monster on the field to keep your Yubel past the turn. Her inclusion in the deck also comes with fusion, which we'll see later. Another important card welded to the point Jaden gets is Honest, which is a level 4 light fairy monster, 1100 attack and 1900 defense with the following effect. Whilst this card is on the field, you can turn this card to its owner's hand. Control level 7 or higher warrior type monster, send this card from your hand to the grave, and this turn, add attack to the targeted monster attack equal to the attack of the monster is valid. So, suspiciously specific, Honest effect works with a level 7 or higher warrior monster in the deck, which means that yet again, it's unfortunately another piece of support for needs. Unfortunately, boosting monsters that naturally have high attack makes the card a lot less useful than it seems. It does have a decently high defense for a level 4 monster. It's another symptom of card effects being too shenanigans. Fusion Shot is an equip spell that you can only equip to a fusion monster. Once per turn, you can remove from play one monster with less than 1000 attack. That was used in equipped monster's fusion summon to inflict damage to your opponent, equal to the attack of the fusion monster. Unfortunately, Fusion Shot being an equipped card only for fusion monsters stands to recover card, so good luck even getting Fusion. But when you manage to finally get Fusion out, the effect sucks. It's extremely specific restrictions to be able to equip the burn down. Restricting monsters to less than 1000 attack, also needing to be specific to fusion materials. Also needing to be specific to fusion materials means that functionally, fusion shot is worthless. Hope for the Future is a trap card where you can activate it by discarding one polymerization while you control a face-up elemental hero units, then send from your deck to the grave. As many fusion material monsters listed on the fusion monster card as possible, so Hope for the Future is another brick of a trap that requires Neos to be on the field, so it's extremely slow and inconsistent. But even if Neos is on the field, Foolish Burial for 6 cards sounds good on paper, apart from the fact that this deck barely benefits from inspirations being great, so there's very few ways to get them back. So this card basically is just a win. Some certain card we'll get to later on. Honestly, the best thing this card can do is thin out your deck so you don't ever draw a Golden Boss. Hero Blast is a normal trap where you can select one element hero normal monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Then destroy one face-up monster your opponent controls attack equal to or less than the selected monster's attack. Hero Blast is a fine recycling card, as it's not something your deck is particularly strong with, but unless you're calling Neos or Sparkman, you'll barely be destroying with monsters with less than 800 attack. Hero Shield is a continuous trap where you can select one face-up hero monster you control and equip this card to it. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard instead. During damage calculation, the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster. You can draw one card for each multiple of 1000 battle damage you take from a battle. At first glance, the card is kind of mediocre. Battle protection for one single battle is useless, but the card in rare situations can be a +2, or maybe even a +1. In most cases, the draw effect will just be an upstart goblin. As it stands, the card is too situational where the draw effect will pop off. Hero's Backup is a trap which you activate only during your battle phase. Select one face-up monster you control whose attack is lower than one of your opponent's monsters by 1000 or more, and remove from play one element hero monster from your grave. The selected monster gains attack equal to the removed monster's attack equal to end phase. Hero's Backup is another trap that's too situational for its purpose. You can tap a monster with less than 1000 attack, so most of the time this card will not work unless it's against the boss monster, and in the case where you are facing off against the boss monster, most of the main deck monsters have 1000 or less attack, so you're just going to be enough to run over the monster, that's the problem. Sure, you could use other fusion monsters to gain 2000 attack, but the max payoff for this card is not worth being dead. Hero's Scout is a trap where you activate it only when an opponent's monster declares an attack. One face-up hero monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle by attack. Also, you can remove from play one hero card from your graveyard to have half the battle damage you take from that attack and draw one card. The card is fine, it's basically just a hero shield, but you want to have your monster attack to draw play. For our penultimate card we'll cover, Neos Wiseman is a level 10 light fusion monster with 3000 attack and 3000 defense, and is a fusion between Neos and any new battle monster and has the following effect. This card battles an opponent's monster and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the target monster, and gain life points equal to the defense of the target monster. When this card is destroyed by battle, you can remove from one new bell from your grave to special summon one element hero Neos from your grave. Neos Wiseman is another extremely powerful card, as everything that you want of the fusion monster. It has high attack, extremely rare form of effect destruction, and even a floating effect with its managed to be able to run over. This card, along with Rainbow Neos, is definitely the pinnacle of the fusion troops that the deck has to offer. Destruction and protection combined with 3k attack means that an opponent will have a hard time getting over this card, if ever, as nobody ever plays removing cards at the ends. But the second effect of this card is what makes it broken. If your opponent ever manages to get 3k attack or more with a monster, if they do manage to run over Neos Wiseman, it will most likely result in self-rotation with a massive 3k or more with self-run, assuming Neos Wiseman attack the monster with 1000 attack before this, which is a very common scenario. Basically, place your opponent in an unwinnable spot as soon as this card is summoned, as they can't summon monsters without Neos Wiseman's burn effect working, and they also can't destroy a monster without fear of taking a massive 3k damage to the face. And for the final cherry on top, if your opponent somehow runs over this card, either with attack reduction or Neos Wiseman, they get enough life points to not lose, you get Neos back, where you can then more than easily contact each next turn to OTA for the win. The dimension that doesn't return itself back to the deck, and to top off the entire element hero fusion archetype and activate, will end with the boss monster of the archetype, Element Hero Divine Neos, which is a level 12 light warrior fusion monster with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. It can only be special summoned from your action deck, by returning one element hero Neos you control and 6 Neospatian monsters with different names from your side of the field or graveyard to the deck. You don't use polymerization. You can remove from play one Neospatian from your deck, have this card gain its effect during this turn. This card gains 500 attack for each Neospatian removed from play this way. Divine Neos has the highest number of materials required for a fusion monster in the game, needing a total of 7 different monsters, where there only exists one of each card in the deck, which means that Divine Neos is barely going to get summoned, if ever. Thankfully, the summon condition is a bit more lenient, allowing monsters from the upgrade, the chances of even seeing all 6 Neospatians along with Neos in a single game would require some sort of divine intervention. And unfortunately, whilst the effect isn't completely useless, it's nowhere worth the time, effort, or mental energy spent on this card. But to see how great this card is, we'll need to look at every possible Neospatian that vanishes. Air Hummingbird's effect is not a factor and doesn't help divine Neos. Aquadolphin's effect more than guarantees a card bomb, but it's only a really nice bonus. Dark Panther is incredibly situational. Flare Scarab actually does help, as it can boost divine Neos to even more absurd levels of attack. Glowmoss. And for Grand Wall, this is the rare instance where a grab not activates effect, which should be pretty clear for obvious reasons. So by combining all the card effects we have for one turn, you have a 6k plus fusion that can discard an opponent's card from your hand, and maybe a copy useful effect. If you're feeling particularly adventurous, gamble or director attack for an end battle phase. This card would barely be worthwhile to use, even if it was a standard 2 material Neos fusion, but with needing 7 whole cards, insulting the league. Okay, well, that was a long video. But now that we've looked at mostly every card Jada
Welcome
uses
to the Rooster
sets,
Inn.
why are they so bad?
Oh,
Starting
I'll
in the
call
first
the doctor
arc,
at once.
Jada keeps
Oh,
it simple
I'll
by
call.
using
Is there anything else I can help you
which,
with?
if
Very
we're going by
well.
the quality of the
Quick
deck
rest,
as a
right?
whole, is
Of
probably
course.
the deck at its peak. By its very nature, the fusion summoning is inconsistent. There's no
Well,
getting
be
past
careful
that.
out
The
there.
deck's win condition is needing 3 specific cards in your hand and going -2 to win. Means that realistically the deck is a composed lot, but still by far beats out the later usage of contact summoning in almost everywhere. So naturally, by keeping the deck to a simple polymerization instead, where the deck has more access to its win
What you
con,
got
it
for me?
clears the later usage, even if they do contain more powerful fusions. Not to say that the first deck isn't without its problems. The number of spells and traps Jade
Is that all
uses
you
is
came
quite
for?
frankly insane. There are way too many hero-specific spells and traps that Jade uses, where pretty much all of them are useless. Moving on to the Society of Light Help, when Jade requires Neos, this is where the deck takes a build
Here you
up,
go.
adding essentially not one, but 2 completely different
Here you
archetypes
go.
with one single link between the 3 sub-archetypes. It's a recipe for disaster. As the Neospatians don't fuse with the element of heroes, the combination of the 2 just clog up your hand, prevent any potential fusion summoning. It's hard before to find the right materials to summon Flame Moonlight. Imagine how hard it would be now when draws include Blue Moss or Air Hummingbird. Ignoring the
Next time you should
inconsistency
buy
of adding an archetype with element of heroes, the Neospatian aspect of the
Hello,
deck
everyone.
even fails as its own archetype. Whilst it does
Please
definitely have
accept
the better
this.
fusion effects, clear standouts being Neos Wiseman, Air Neos, and Rainbow
Who shall I
Neos,
call
where
for?
summoning them is always a power play.
May you
Very
need me?
few things they're not
You've
like
made
bad.
a wise
Problem is the
choice.
archetype inherently just punishes you for even attempting to do what the deck is designed to do. Why go -2 plus whatever tributes you need to use to summon Neos on the field?
Is
Have
there
no
anything
monsters
else?
on the field at the end of the
There,
turn.
there.
Needing a level 7 monster with no effect to be on board and a single card that is a single one-off to be able to contact use, which happens once in a blue
Right,
just
right.
means that the deck is unable to punish. The design of the Neos archetype is flawed, as many of the Neos fusions are too powerful to stay on the field for multiple turns. Where the anime had to cut off their legs so the duel wouldn't be over as soon as Jaden summoned them. Imagine if Aqua Neos could survive for 2 turns. Making the opponent go -4 is so detrimental, where it would be hard to write a comeback for the opponent. Heck, the anime had to end the rules when Neos Wiseman was attacked by Nitro, as Jaden would have won the duel in that moment. But despite all my complaints with the deck, the hero archetype
Just leave it
and
there.
Neospatians have always held a special place in my heart. For most people, originally
You've made a wise choice.
For me, GX was mine.
Damn,
With the
I'm
entire
good.
rainbow of new cards,
All right,
besides
listen
some of the mechanics that have been introduced since then, there's just something so interesting to new fusion setting. Yes, the concept is definitely flawed. Even for many years past GX, fusion still struggled with finding a footing in the meta. But the design of combining 2 cards
If you
from their
say so.
designs, effects, and stats into one fusion between the 2 speaks a lot more
Well,
to
off you go.
synchro link summon, which to me, the entire hero archetype perfectly example. Not to mention, I've always loved the design of the art of heroes
Hi
and Neospatians. There's just something so appealing about those stats and the element, especially. It's also a pretty beloved archetype, much to the annoyance of flood video games, as it gets an abundance of support, and there's always some aspect of the hero archetype wriggling its way into the meta in some capacity, which means that for as long as the game exists, Jaden's deck is here to stay. So if you cares if your deck is flawed, ask to stop by spending yet another hero extender to get it.
Kami ni Mama, ganito kompleto. You want to ask around?
Hey, thanks. How goes the job? Hey, thanks.
Watch, he's not actually gonna be dead. Oh, no. He actually did. I guess they only did that once. In 3. Yeah, no, he was asking for it. Like, what the fuck?
How goes the job?
It's a tragedy, but still.
Hey, thanks. Which one are you interested in? Ah, that one. Which one are you interested in? Ah, that one. Which one are you interested in? Ah, that one. You want to ask around? I'm counting on you.
Welcome to the Rooster Inn. Sign in over here, please.
Previously, a loop.